Lisa did a fantastic job here with the presentation. Just a couple things that she had asked, when we were listening over there, just to maybe kind of highlight a couple pieces that maybe not have been covered or explained. I'll try to do that for a couple minutes, and then we'll get to some Q&A. We do want to let you know that going back to the slide presentation, when we had these, I call them educational meetings at each of the schools, because the board had directed us during negotiations. They said, we want you to sit down with your administrators and your teachers, have your teachers come to the meetings at the individual schools, and the superintendent will be there, the principal will be there of the building, and we want to hear your issues and your concerns. So once again, we did that, but we, the association, wanted to have a board member present at every single meeting. Because basically what happened was we opened up our hearts to our administrators and told them everything, and Mr. Younger as well told them everything that we have issues and concerns with. And all that the board was told was basically that talks went real well and they were very productive. But as Lisa had mentioned, there was going to be no changes. There was nothing that was going to happen for your kids in the classroom. Not now, not in next year. It's not going to happen, not in the future. So we did want the board to be there during those meetings. Also, when we mentioned on the slide here about the impasse, I think it was quoted by the superintendent as saying, basically by the board declaring impasse to the teachers, that this would allow the teachers to go out on strike. So basically they're just saying, if the teachers are going to go on strike, in essence what the impasse does, it gives them permission to go out on strike. When we talk about this 3.5%, now it's down to 2%. What we need to explain to you, this is what we call as new money. And money is money, yes. But when you talk about 2%, our current salary schedule, because we have all the retired teachers that are off that schedule that she's making reference to, the 19 teachers, you have 166 total teachers. There's 147 that are on that salary schedule. That salary schedule, to cost it out, is about $7.6 million. So when we say we want 2% new money, you're adding 2% on that $7.6 million, which is probably about $152,000. All right? That's called new money to put into the existing salary schedule to let it run. And if we move people on the step, then that's about $200,000 or $167,000 to move people on a step. So what we make reference to is what we call as new money, because that salary schedule that we're making reference to was established back in 2006. The new contract that we have, current contract, was established in 2006. It's been past practice to have salary schedules, and as we alluded to earlier, that's how it is throughout the state of Illinois for education for schools. The operating funds, to clarify up here, there's a total of 9 funds that the school district operates to pay bills and expenditure with revenue and expenditures. The operating funds are the 4 funds that we as the teachers can negotiate for. Those 4 operating funds has a total dollar amount of $10.2 million. With all funds, all 9 funds, you have $11.8 million. Once again, you need to understand as parents, these teachers, all of us included here, we're not trying to bankrupt. We're not trying to say we want all $10 million. And if you look at, out of the $10 million that we're negotiating for, when you get 2% new money, if it's $150,000, it's just a little bit over what, 1%, I think? That's what you're really looking at. And they can still continue to have those surpluses and extra monies. Once again, just to talk about why did the graph show that spike? I mean, all of a sudden, you go from maybe the $9 million range all of a sudden up to $12 million. Because last year, with all funds, they had probably about the highest ever for the school district in the history of Dixon, about $12.3 million. Once again, what we tried to do a couple years ago is to save our teachers that were going to be ripped, that were people retiring to try to get some new hirees. And when you cut, basically in the last 3 years, 25 staff members, you've cut them. They're gone. They've retired. And you don't replace them. You go from 182 teachers, you drop 25 teachers. That's where we're at right now, is 167. Our student enrollment, our population during that time, in those 3-year period, has gone down 40 students. We lost 40 students. And in that same period, you've lost 25 teachers that have not been replaced. So where does all these kids go? They're going to go into the classroom, but mathematically, you know that's going to increase your class size. There's no way around it. That's what's going to happen, and that's what has occurred. Just to let the parents know as well, you have the Illinois State Board of Education that does a financial profile of every school district in this entire state. The best score that you can get on a financial profile is a 4.0. Dixon, this past year, it was announced at the board meeting a couple months ago, they received a 3.9. What I think they got maybe to say dinged, if you want to call it, was their working cash fund may not have been as large as it is currently, but they need to have that money to at least $2.5 million in the working cash fund to cover those July expenses that are coming up in the month of July to cover everything. So they have received a 3.9, I would say probably for the last 12, 13 years in a row. So they are very prudent, they are very wise, which is good for taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer here in Dixon. It's very wise and financially strong and sound for our school district. So once again, there's no issue with them, with their finances, when they receive a 3.9 every single year. Teachers, we were not opposed to increasing the length of the day. You need to realize that it's a negotiated item. It's something to talk about. We don't have a problem with lengthening the day. But the problem that Lisa pointed out to, you've got to pay us. I mean, if I'm getting for minimum wage $8.50, and my boss comes and tells me I want you to work an extra hour, okay, I'll work an extra hour, but we're not going to pay you for that. That's what they're, in essence, were telling us. And they were not going to pay for that. So just to try to point that out to the folks here. The reference section is not a binding agreement.
Dolph,
Yes.
Can I talk about the reference section?
Yeah, I'll let you do, yeah. I just have one more point, then I'll turn this over to Sam. Just one point here at the end. As we mentioned, the 4 teachers that are retiring this year, it has been made very clear to us, the negotiating team, that the district is not going to replace those 4 teachers. They're not going to replace them. So what's going to happen, you'll probably see a shifting and a move, because you got to fill different spots and positions and areas. And so that means people as teachers are going to move and be shifted from where they're currently at right now this year. So as you pointed out, the 4 teachers that are retiring, that is about $316,000 that will be off the books. They don't have to worry about that. That's off the books. They're not bringing in 4 new teachers at, let's say, $32,000 a year. So that's not happening. So those 4 teachers are gone. So instead of having 166 teachers, we're going to be down to 162. All right. So Sandy, I'll turn the reference section